Hello, this is Brett. Welcome to Lesson 4, where we're going to discuss getting our Ernie Sports Deli website up online so that the world can see it. So, I have a little diagram here that explains what we're trying to do. So there's all these computers out there, and let's say your computer and my computer. We need to connect to the internet, which is illustrated by this cloud. And what we want to do is go out on the internet and find the resource for the Ernie Sports Deli website. And so to do that, we need a web server that has an IP address that is accessible on the public internet. And what happens is our computer can communicate similar to like a mailing address. It can send a request to the web server and request the Ernie Sports Deli page. And then the web server will send a response with all of your HTML and CSS to your computer, and it will render it. And communicating over the internet is a series of a request coming out to the web server, which I'll illustrate with a little request box. So it says, I want this request to come out, or I want to request the Ernie Sports Deli site, and then the web server will respond, call that the response, with the page. It'll come back. And then your computer will make another request and it can send more things back. And so this is how the internet works. Requests go out to servers, responses come back. So we need a few things in order to get this to work. One, we need a web server that has an address, a public IP address, where people can send requests to. So to get that, we use a hosting company such as Godaddy. So I'm going to come to Google here and I'm going to type in Godaddy cheap hosting. And they have a deal here that you can get a domain name and hosting for $1 a month. So a pretty good deal. So if you select that, and go through the process, it will take you through purchasing those things. But before I do that, I want to explain what we actually need. So a typical IP address looks like this. We'll take a guess at one. It's 74.32.132.65. And what it is numbers that are separated by periods, and that's the address. Well, it became pretty difficult on the internet for everybody to remember these addresses. So what people came up with was the idea of domain names, that you would go register a domain name, and then there was a server called a name server that was like a phone book. And so you could your computer could actually send a request to a name server for something like, let's say, google.com. And then that would go into the name server and it would look up the address for google.com, and then it would send it back to your computer, and your computer could make the request directly using this numerical address. So to show you an example of that in a terminal, if I come and I type in nslookup for name server lookup, google.com, it shows me here that google.com is found at this address, 172.217.12.14. So when I did this nslookup, it came out to it came out to the name server, looked up the domain name, got the IP address, and sent it back. So we need a few things to get our site to work. One, we need a domain name. Two, we need a name server. And three, we need a web server. And with those three components, people can access our site. So I'm going to show you the easiest way to do that I know of, and the cheapest way, which is through GoDaddy hosting. So if you go to Google, type in GoDaddy cheap hosting, there's an ad here. GoDaddy hosting deals with free domain, $1 a month. We'll jump in there, and they're going to give us a free domain name, and they'll charge us, I think, $1 a month, and it might be $5 every month after the first month. But I'll select this cheap plan. I need to pick a domain name, so I'm going to do Fonano. This is a name I just made up for Food Nano. It'll be my project, which is a CMS for restaurants. We started with the Ernie Sports Deli page, but that will evolve into more of a content management system. So I hit go, it says that Cpanel is available, so I'll add that and continue. Now, when you get in here, they're going to ask you, this is how they make their money. You can see that it's really $27 because they have a whole bunch of different things. So 12 months of hosting, $12. This domain registration, they have 2 years of Cpanel for $15. I'm just going to choose 1 year of registration, so I get it for free. And I get $12 of hosting. Or 1 year of hosting for $12. So my total will come up to $12.18. And select a charity. Looks like I can donate 82 cents for charity. I always like to do this because I think we should always be giving to charity. So we'll proceed to checkout. So $13. I don't have an account, so I'm going to create an account. My email address is brett@devnano.com. Username will be that. And then for a password, I use this thing called 1Password to do randomly generated passwords. So I will copy that password. I'll change it later. And then a support pin. I'll just put in some fake pin for now. And that will create my account. Now this 1Password thing, this is just asking me to save my login for Godaddy for Cpanel. Let's see, call-in pin cannot repeat a single digit. So I'll do, let's see, 9876. How about that? Create the account. They can't be sequential digits. Okay. How about 2, 4, 6, 8. Then you just fill out your billing details with your first name, last name, your address. Then you go to pay with this. I'm gonna use PayPal. This is just a regular checkout, a shopping cart checkout process, so nothing here particularly that you need to know. So I pay for my hosting. You can see here $13. Place your order, and that is finished. So now that I've bought my domain name and my web server, and my web server actually came with a name server through this process, I can go configure it. So I'm going to click on the domain name button, and in each hosting provider you're going to get a little bit of a different interface here, but the principles here are the same, where you have a domain name, that domain name links to a name server, and then that name server does the lookup of your domain name to an IP address. So we're going to come into my domains, and I have my Cpanel here, and I'll go into the domain settings, and if I scroll down, I'm going to see a button called Manage DNS. And when I come into Manage DNS, here's the first note that we'll make, that the name servers have been pre-configured for me, and these are the 2 name servers that it's using. So for the sake of teaching, I'll copy those and I'll paste them in here. The name servers that we're using that have been assigned to us by Godaddy is ns21.domaincontrol.com and ns22.domaincontrol.com. And our domain name is Cpanel.com. Now this has been configured for you, but in the future you may have to configure this yourself. So understanding the principles is important. So if we come up here, here are the name server records. And this is saying there's an A record, so this is for the root of our domain, with an IP address of 50.63.202.61. So filling out our little chart here, I'm copy and paste that address. And what this is saying now is that a computer, when it goes to look up Cpanel.com, the registry will say, go look up the address on these servers, these name servers. When it goes up to look up Cpanel.com, it will say to go to that web server. So all of that happened automatically for us in the setup. So now we can come to our web hosting. And you'll see that it will allow us to set up a new Cpanel account. That's a portal for managing your hosting. So I'll click Setup. The domain I want to use is phonano.com. So next. I want that to be in North America. That's great. My Cpanel username is going to be brett@devnano.com, which it looks like it won't let me use the @sign. So I'll say brett.devnano. And the password I'm going to use will be, I'll just copy the same password I used for Godaddy so I can remember it. I'll paste that. Oh, it won't let me use that because it only consists of a special character. So I'll hit generate password. It shows me that password. And then I'll hit next. It asks me if I want to create a WordPress website, which I do not. So I want to do a manual website. So I'll hit finish. So this goes through the process of setting up our Cpanel account for us. Now it looks like it says our account finished set up early, so get started. And this brings me into my Cpanel. So a lot of interesting information in here. It says my website address is 107.180.57.27. So I'm going to copy that. And that looks like it's a different address than in there. So I'm going to go see if it configured that for me. And you'll see it actually refreshing the page. Because I set up that Cpanel, they went in automatically and changed the A record for my domain to 107.180.57.27. So I'll go, I'm going to change this in the diagram just so you can see and understand what's happening and what they're doing for you. This is nice because they're doing a lot of this for us, but they've come in and added in all of this different information. And so we'll have different lessons about what all of this means. But for now, it's just important to note that the A record for the phonano.com is pointing to that web server. All right, so now the hosting is set up. I need to upload our files into the server. So going back to our diagram, I have the website on my computer right now, and I need to transfer it to the web server so that other people can view it. So there's a few ways to do this. I'm going to come to the file manager, and it's asking me which directory I want to go into, and I want to go to the web root. So I'll go to there. You can see it has a number of default files in there, so a 404, a home.html, and a layout-styles.css file. So just out of curiosity, I'm going to come to phonano.com and see what loads up, which future home of something quite cool. So they've just put some default HTML in there. So I'll come in and I'm going to select all of those things, and I'm going to hit the delete button, and I'll trash the files. Now I want to upload. So this is saying that the maximum size is 100 gigabytes of file I can upload. Please select the files. It gives us certain permissions. So I'm going to choose the files that I want. Come to my desktop, devnano, erniesportsdeli.com, and I'm going to select, it looks like they don't have multiple select here, so I'll select my CSS file. It looks like it's uploading that, and that's complete, so I'm going to choose another one. Index.html, that's uploaded. My Facebook URL, this is definitely not the most efficient way to do this, but for the sake of showing multiple ways, I'll just continue on. Locations. I will upload catering, and I'm going to upload truck.html. All right, so those files have uploaded. I'm going to click back. Now in here, you'll see I have all of the files have now been transferred from my computer to the web server. So if I come back to phonano.com and refresh, I get my web page, which I haven't finished it, but the website is loading. So going back to what we've done here, we registered a domain name. Godaddy automatically configured the name servers for us and pointed it to a web server. We uploaded our files, and now everybody in the world can go to fanano.com and see erniesportsdeli.com. So for homework this week, I want you to try to get set up a website online with it loading online. Bring your questions or put them in the Slack channel so we can help you out if there's anything you need to know. And we'll talk about more how that works later, but go through it, experience it, and we'll talk to you later. We'll see ya.